Yesterday's front delivered some rain and a comfortable feel with lower humidity. I'll show you how long the comfortable conditions last and when there's more rain in our forecast.
Votes of the dead. Complaints about ballots that were counted after the people who made them had died. Why they were allowed and the consequences Wake County officials could face. Cashing in on the Canes. Today we're learning about the economic boost to Raleigh during the Stanley Cup run. How the more than $13 million generated is impacting Wake County. The State Board of Elections is meeting right now to reconsider a complaint against Wake County election officials. These are officials who allowed 3 dead voters' ballots to be counted in 2024. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Levinga. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the ballots in question were filed during the early voting period, but the voters died before Election Day. Wake County election officials voted to reject 42 of those early ballots from voters who died before Election Day. They accepted 3 others at the request of their family members following emotional testimony. And that includes one from an 18-year-old terminal cancer patient who wanted to vote before she died. 2 of the Wake County Board of Elections members are the focus of this meeting. And Jared Cohen was with the board, and he gave this response about his decision to allow those 3 votes through.
The eye of the law may be opened by experience. Again, my votes on these 3 challenges in question are not reflective of my 50-year legal career, most of that dominated by election laws. It was, frankly, an emotional aberration.
While state election officials have told county election officials to throw out all ballots cast by people who vote early but die before Election Day, there is no state law requiring this. The State Board of Elections continues to hear arguments, and we will update on any decision they make as soon as that happens.
Members of the Lumbee tribe have rejected an amendment that would have allowed for a casino to be built off I-95 in Robeson County. The plan was shot down after some tribal members expressed concerns over their gaming rights being taken away. Coming up in our next half hour, we'll share plans for a future vote. It is less humid today thanks to yesterday's cold front.
Yeah, zero complaining on this face right here. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio to explain why and how long this nice pattern will last. I hope for a while, Elizabeth.
Zero complaints here. I'll tell you what, it is a nice day to be standing out here on the patio. I'm in a little bit of shade right here, and that's where you want to be. It is going to be a fairly hot afternoon. The highs near normal in the upper 80s. But when you have low humidity like this, it just feels phenomenal. Lots of sunshine out here. Our dew point is in the mid 50s, and that is a rare treat for June. So, yep, Chris, did you get that rare treat? It's not going to last, unfortunately. Right now, 78 degrees. Just take advantage of it today if you can. We started yesterday at tropical, and look at that. We've dropped 4 levels down to comfy right now. But by tomorrow, it starts to creep back up, and once we're in the weekend, we're back to tropical again. Feeling great out here. It's 80 in Fayetteville, 78 here in Raleigh and Durham, 78 in South Hill, 79 in Rocky Mount. Our 24-hour temperature change, in some places, it's as much as 5 to 10 degrees cooler than it was this time yesterday. Not the same everywhere because, of course, this time yesterday, we were seeing waves of thunderstorms move through. So that definitely affects the temperature. Temperature this afternoon climbing into the upper 80s, but then we see temperatures dropping into the 70s by about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. We're dry today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's a little bit of a transition day. We're going to end up seeing the reversal of the wind starting to warm us up and bringing us a little bit more humidity, and then we're right back at it for summer. As a matter of fact, we're not too far from record highs again this weekend. I'll show you what it will feel like coming up.
All right, sounds good, Elizabeth. Well, right now, Durham city and county leaders are meeting for a summit on saving lives. This 3-day event is bringing together leaders and community members to find solutions to gun violence. Let's bring in Monica Casey. She's live at the Durham Convention Center for this event. Monica, this effort, it involves a lot of people here.
It does, and that is what leaders say makes this unique, with the city and county working hand in hand to solve the issue of gun violence. The room here inside the Durham Convention Center is packed with current and former law enforcement leaders, elected officials, and community advocates. 94 people have been shot in Durham this year. For the last 6 months, the city and county have hosted listening sessions and gathered data. Mayor Leonardo Williams and County Commission Chair Mike Lee say now they are turning the page from listening to action.
We're going to let the data inform us on what's next. So no policy based on assumptions or opinion. It's hard facts and experiences. And this is our most aggressive response to violent crime ever.
At the end of this 3-day summit, participants will bring recommendations for the city and county to implement, and then elected officials have 60 days to put that plan into action. One theme that has come up a lot during this summit, community members who say Durham is resource rich but execution poor. Leaders here say they don't necessarily need to start from the ground up, but rather connect the people who are already doing the work on solving the problem of gun violence. Live in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
And the WRAL documentary unit examined the devastating impact of gun violence in North Carolina. You can watch the documentary Unsafe: North Carolina Kids Dying from Gun Violence on WRALdoc.com.
Laura Levine here in the WRAL Live Center with an update on that affordable housing bill that President Trump was expected to sign today. The president has abruptly canceled a press conference and the plan of signing that bill. Here's what he said here on Truth Social. He says today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency. So the president here is basically saying that he will not sign this bill until Congress passes the Save America Act, which is a sweeping elections bill that has become really a focal point of his second term. It was not immediately clear whether he still plans to sign the housing bill or veto it, and the White House also has not commented. Trump has repeatedly pressed Republicans to pass this act, which would overhaul elections in all 50 states and add new proof of citizenship and voter ID requirements. Meanwhile, we have cameras right now, a live look inside Capitol Hill, where the president is expected to meet with Republican senators for a closed session today, talking about some of the differences they've been having with the president's agenda at this time.
Thanks, Laura. The U.S. military is reinstating a flu shot policy following an outbreak at a Texas Air Force facility. More than 220 troops have contracted the flu at Lackland Air Force Base, up from 160 reported last week in a major outbreak. The death of one recruit is under investigation. It's unclear whether that was tied to the flu outbreak. This comes only 2 months after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth waived the annual flu shot requirement for troops. The mandate had been in place since 1945. A federal judge issued a nationwide ban on the Trump administration's policy of arresting people at immigration courts. ICE agents began detaining migrants in courthouse hallways last year, raising alarm among attorneys and advocates. The 71-page ruling called the ICE policy arbitrary. The general counsel for the Department of Homeland Security called the judge's ruling, quote, naked judicial activism.
North Carolina's S-Line rail project is getting an additional $65 million to work with. This project would move key construction and safety work forward along the Raleigh to Richmond corridor. Now, at Durant Road in Raleigh, teams are already building the first major phase, and that is focused on separating rail and roadway traffic and easing congestion for thousands of daily drivers. Officials say the upgrades will improve safety and set the stage for faster, more reliable passenger rail service between North Carolina and Virginia. This entire project is set to be finished by the end of next year. And there's a stretch of Glenwood Avenue that's going to be closed starting this weekend. That's because of some road work happening. The closure starts Sunday night between Wade Avenue and Women's Club Drive. The 5 Points intersection will also be closed nightly between July 12th and the 14th. Detours will be posted for drivers.
Hurricanes mania bringing in a lot of people and money to the Triangle. The estimated number of people packing downtown Saturday for the championship parade keeps growing.
I mean, for good reason, right? So many people wanted to be there for that epic moment. And the Downtown Raleigh Alliance now estimates that the crowd is at more than 190,000 people. That's so many people, Ken. He's joining us right now, Ken Smith, to break down how much money the Canes Championship brought in. And it's a pretty significant amount, Ken.
Yeah, you know, Renee and Chris, this Hurricane Stanley Cup Championship run is the economic gift that keeps on giving, and we now have some numbers to prove that point. Visit Raleigh. The Carolina Hurricanes and the NHL say just the home games and the sold-out watch parties at Lenova Center generated $13.4 million in total economic impact. That number is likely much higher since we're still working on getting figures from watch parties at Red Hat, Smoky Hollow, and downtown Cary Park, not to mention the amount of people who came to Raleigh, just as you mentioned. mentioned the 190,000 people estimated by the Downtown Raleigh Alliance. Also, the taxable revenue that Wake County will get benefit from. Also, the 6 games, including the home games and the sold-out watch parties, attracted more than 112,000 fans. And we know, Renee, the Stanley Cup continues to make the rounds around the Triangle.
It sure does. The Stanley Cup even made a stop at the Legislative Building. Lawmakers honored the Hurricanes and praised the team for their cup run. Coach Rod Brendamore, Captain Jordan Stahl, and Assistant Captain Jordan Martinook were all there. Brendamore said the Hurricanes could be a model for everyone. We're getting a new look at the Hurricanes victory parade from last weekend. The Carolina Hurricanes shared this angle from the Freddie cam online. They gave goaltender Freddie Anderson meta glasses to wear during the parade so you could see what he was seeing. And you can see just all those people there to cheer the Canes on. Raleigh police estimate more than 190,000 people. We should just say there were nearly 200,000 people. Everyone and their brother were out there Saturday for the parade.
The power of rounding up, Renee. Well, 2 college players from Tobacco Road are NBA bound after they were picked in last night's draft. Duke's Cameron Boozer is headed to Memphis to play for the Grizzlies, and he was selected 3rd overall. UNC's Caleb Wilson was up next, drafted by the Chicago Bulls and the number 4 pick. The draft continues tonight with round 2.
Next at noon, bankruptcy after tragedy. What led to the outcome for Camp Mystic a year after deadly floods killed campers and camp workers?
Plus, Europe's heat dome. Just how hot it's getting across the pond and how looking for relief has led to deaths in France.
Too close for comfort. A look at how often near collisions and crashes happen in the airline industry as leaders tried to curb this.
Coming up next, sea storms moving in with WRAL's exclusive Dual Doppler 5000, sponsored by the WRAL Weather app. Download now for live radar.
Camp Mystic filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy nearly 1 year after deadly floods killed 25 girls and 2 camp workers. The all-girls Christian camp listed its debt as exceeding $10 million, and the bankruptcy filing was made days after a new report identified a series of missteps that led to the deaths at the camp. Investigators said that Camp Mystic lacked written emergency plans that complied with state requirements, and they also found the camp did not adequately prepare for the storm. Camp Mystic planned to reopen this year, but withdrew its application for a camp license after public opposition. And family and friends gathered this morning to remember the victims of the condominium collapse in Surfside, Florida. The name of each person was read aloud during the torch lighting at 1:15 this morning. The annual vigil honors the 98 lives lost when the Champlain Towers South crumbled in 2021. A report released on Monday noted the structural damage actually began weeks before that deadly disaster.
Happening now here in the WRAL Live Center, we're beginning to see reports of a 5.6 magnitude earthquake that has hit Northern California. This happened around 8:10 Pacific time in California, about 150 miles north of San Francisco. According to the Southern California Earthquake Monitor, you can see just here on the map when those tremors began to be felt, and it was felt pretty much widely spread, even in the fishing city of Fort Bragg, about 80 miles south of the epicenter here. So this is something that we're going to continue to follow. As of right now, there have been no immediate reports of damage or injuries, but we're going to keep our eyes on the situation. Again, a 5.6 magnitude earthquake hitting Northern California.
Laura, thank you. Scorching summer heat. People in Europe are dealing with record high temperatures. Europe's latest heat wave is its second so-called heat dome in just 2 months. France has suffered its first major power outage as record-breaking heat disrupted school and transportation schedules in countries across the region. Temperatures there topped 44 degrees Celsius, which is 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Sadly, at least 40 people have drowned in France while swimming in unsupervised areas, searching for relief. Tourists and locals alike are choosing to venture out earlier in the day.
I don't think anybody's prepared for this kind of heat at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go inside and cool off for a moment.
The UK closed more than 1,000 schools across England and Wales under a rare weather warning this morning. Similar warnings are in effect in Spain, Italy, Germany, and Switzerland.
So the percent chance of rain can be a confusing part of the forecast. And that's why meteorologist Chris Michaels gives us some food for thought using a pizza pie to show what the chance of rain really means.
It's always a good time when we can take weather and food and make an analogy out of it. Before we get to that, let's talk about that chance of rain and how it initially had been calculated. It's called the probability of precipitation, or POP, which is confidence times area. Now, it's pretty easy to quantify the percentage of an area that you expect to see rain, but your confidence, it just feels kind of weird to say, yeah, you know, I'm 80% confident that 60% of the area sees rain. It's too much, right? So we're going to give you this visual of a pizza pie. Imagine that the WRAL viewing area is that pizza pie. If you've got 10 to 30% of the area covered, in this case with pepperoni, it'd be isolated showers. 40 to 60% scattered, 60 to 80% of the area numerous showers, and then 80% to 100% would be widespread. So when you see those percentages, we're more than likely just talking about the coverage area that's seeing rain. So over the course of the next few days, nothing today, but 20 to 40% of the area seeing showers and storms. That would be your isolated to scattered nature of showers and storms, much like what we saw here in Topsail Island. Thanks to Anna Hodges. Great shot there that shows, hey, you could have a downpour 5 minutes down the road and sunshine where you are, or vice versa. It's summertime in North Carolina.
And Elizabeth, the one thing I love about that analogy, obviously food, but now Chris Michaels has to bring everyone pizza because we want some now, especially pepperoni.
Absolutely. We all said after that, we're like, why didn't you just bring in the pizza, you know, instead of making it on a graphic? I don't know how many of you remember that he did this back in the winter with donuts to talk about freezing rain and sleet, and it was really cool. So yeah, I guess we get hungry here in the mornings. Beautiful, beautiful day. Maybe you want to think about grilling out. It's hard to, really have good grilling weather this time of year. It just gets too hot and humid. But thanks to our cold front that's moved offshore and high pressure building, and behind it, high pressure moves clockwise. And so in that position, it's grabbing this really lovely air mass from Canada and bringing it here for a visit for one day. It is pretty in the gardens right now, plenty of sunshine. Our dew point is at 54, which is almost unheard of this time of year. It's very rare for our dew point to be that low. And the dew point is the measure of moisture in the atmosphere. The lower that number, the more comfortable it feels outside. It's 78 in terms of our temperature. Looking at 80 in Cary, 81 in Holly Springs, 80 in Wake Forest right now. We got check out again that temperature change. In some places, it's about 5 to 10 degrees cooler, mainly in our eastern counties. I think already we had started to cool down in our western counties yesterday because we already had the showers and thunderstorms there. Around town this afternoon, looking at highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. And I know that's hot, but when you drop the temperature, it's sort of like we moved to California, Colorado. That's the way it feels out. Our high pressure system will keep all the humidity at bay for a little while. All the green shaded area, that's where it's real humid. So this is lunchtime, and the high will gradually just weaken, and it stays pretty nice into Thursday, but watch what happens. A little bit of that humidity tries to sneak in kind of in waves, and then after that, the high just gives up and says, bring it on. And then here comes the humidity in full force for us Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into next week until the next big front comes through. So we're going from comfy right now all the way back up to steamy to almost tropical as we get into the weekend. Checking out what happens after that, we've got the potential for, again, some very hot conditions. We're looking at our temperature climbing on up into the 90s. Expect upper 90s for us for Saturday and Sunday. We'll be close to records, but not quite. So expect the temperatures, to, really be on the toasty side. We also have a chance for showers and thunderstorms Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's only a 30 to 40% chance. And you remember what that is now, right? Because Chris showed you the pizza. And then after that, we're looking at things changing up a little bit as we get into early next week. But again, upper 90s Friday, Saturday, Sunday with a chance for showers and thunderstorms. And we'll take a closer look at our 7-day forecast in just a bit.
Elizabeth, I'm just thinking of the pepperoni, the extra cheese, maybe some mushrooms on it. But thank you. Get ready for the first full moon of the summer. The strawberry moon will peak on June 29th, continuing with the food theme. The moon, though, won't look red like a strawberry. Now, the name comes from the time frame of when strawberries are usually ripe and ready to pick. The next full moon, called the buck moon, will peak on July 29th. And that name derives from the time of year when male deer grow their new antlers.
I learned a new thing today. Okay, so coming up on our evening news, Raleigh Rail Future. The project for the S-Line rail corridor in Wake County. It's ramping up. Today on WRAL News at 4, the plans in place to make other cities more accessible from the Triangle.
Protecting your memories. And in the past year, Five on Your Side has exposed wedding venues keeping deposits after tragedy struck. Photographers accused of withholding photos and couples losing thousands of dollars. Today on WRAL News at 5, Keely Arthur tells you about some of the most common wedding scams and the steps couples can take to protect themselves before saying, I do. Still to come on this newscast, student loan changes. Five on Your Side tells you what you need to know about the end of the SAVE program and what's next for tens of thousands of North Carolinians.
Plus, no drones allowed. The number of flying devices that World Cup officials say they have confiscated after fans ignored the rules. And hey, if you see some breaking news or have a story tip or video and pictures of weather where you are, go ahead and report that to us at WRAL.com/reporting.
Millions of Americans and thousands of North Carolinians have 1 week left to figure out big financial changes. The federal government is phasing out student loan repayments under the SAVE plan. Five on Your Side's Alex Littlehales shows us who would be affected and what to know about next week's important deadline.
Danielle Reynolds shares a story with countless other Americans.
When the SAVE plan rolled out, I was a single mom at the time, and I was like, well, I need to make an affordable payment.
A working mom who went back to school in her 30s, now facing a big financial adjustment when she graduates this year.
It's like, this is just another monthly bill that I just have to tackle. Versus now, it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be a big bill.
Starting July 1st, next Wednesday, is a 90-day countdown, a 3-month window when student loan borrowers will start getting notices telling them they need to switch off of SAVE, a student loan repayment option introduced under former President Joe Biden. The flexible repayment plan faced court challenges before its official end this year. Borrowers must now choose from a collection of alternatives, which may raise people's monthly payments.
That SAVE protected more of your income before they took the percentage out. They use what's called discretionary income, which is supposed to be what's left over after you've taken care of your basics and your bills.
Tonight on WRAL at 6, just how many in our state are likely to feel the impacts? Plus, what should you do if you're a borrower, and what's next for the repayment process? I'm Alex Littlehales, Five on Your Side.
So if you plan to attend World Cup events, you cannot fly a drone near stadiums or fan festivals. Federal authorities say they have seized more than 300 drones around the country for violations. Anyone who gets busted has to answer to federal air marshals. Violators could face federal criminal charges and fines up to $100,000. And another round of FIFA World Cup action is happening on Fox 50 today, starting at 3 p.m. You can watch Switzerland take on Canada. Then at 6, it'll be Scotland versus Brazil. And at 9 p.m., it'll be Czechia facing off against Mexico.
Casino rejected. The Lumbee tribe votes against building a casino in Robeson County. The concern from voters that affected their decision.
Plus, improving airline safety from near misses to crashes. Aviation experts press lawmakers to install new technology. And we do have a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers right here on the screen.
Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
The Lumbee tribe voted not to move forward with a proposed casino in Robeson County. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains why the tribe's chairman was pushing for this, but the tribal voters said no.
That final vote coming in late last night. Lumbee tribe members have voted against plans to move forward with a new resort and casino. We'll go ahead and give you a look at renderings that show what that area could have looked like off I-95 in Robeson County. These images show plans for hotels, a casino, convention center, golf course, and more. The development would have been on the 240 acres the tribe purchased last year after being recognized by the federal government. The project was expected to create more than 3,000 jobs. It was also expected to bring in millions in tax revenue that could have been used for the tribe's housing, education, and health care. Those plans shot down last night after some tribal members expressed concerns over their gaming rights being taken away and passed on to the tribal council. Tribe Chairman John Lowry posted on Facebook last night saying he honors the wishes of the majority and he doesn't have any plans to move forward with this issue again at any point during his tenure. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
State lawmakers are moving forward with legislation that would make dozens of changes to North Carolina's tax laws. The state Senate voted to pass Senate Bill 595. Under the bill, sports bettors could pay more in taxes. Timber farmers who lost trees in Helene could get bigger tax breaks. Vape stores could also get new oversight. The bill still needs approval from Governor Josh Stein to become law.
Happening now here in the Live Center, a Raleigh man has been indicted in a multi-million-dollar healthcare kickback conspiracy. This is 59-year-old James Price III, and he pleaded guilty in federal court today to the crime of paying illegal kickbacks for referrals to his California-based lab and filing a false federal tax return. At sentencing, he faces a statutory maximum of 13 years imprisonment, a $500,000 fine, and 3 years of supervised release. Now, he will also be required to pay restitution to the California Medical Assistance Program. Now, according to the U.S. Attorney Ellis Boyle, he says stealing taxpayer dollars that should be used to help legitimate beneficiaries is low down, dirty, and pool. And of course, we have a message to fraudsters who steal federal dollars. We will catch, prosecute, and imprison you.
Goodness, $60 million in fraudulent claims. Thanks for bringing that for us, Laura. Well, drought conditions across the state, they are getting worse, frankly. And the levels at Wake County's largest water resource, Falls Lake, just keep dropping. It's now down to 64% capacity, and that's more than 5 feet below normal and a 2% drop since last week. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says that it is now the driest June on record at Falls Lake. The lake is far from where it needs to be for the city of Raleigh to lift water restrictions. In fact, the city of Raleigh has issued 92 official warnings to customers last week about water restrictions. Before this, it only issued 10 warnings since the restrictions went into place in April. 161 violations were reported to the city last week, and that brings the total since April to 639.
A troubling revelation from the nation's airlines, who say there are far more close calls in the nation's skies than ever reported. The warning comes just days after a close call over Boston's Logan Airport involving a flight headed to Charlotte. NBC's Tom Costello shares new information about the recent close calls.
Confusion and stress in the tower and in the cockpits.
Delta 2321 going around because of American.
A Delta flight forced to abort its landing in Boston Saturday after a cockpit collision alert warned that an American jet was just 300 feet away, about to take off from an intersecting runway.
American 3161, where you going? You cleared us for takeoff, 3161.
Now, an industry group representing the nation's airline says there are far more close calls than ever reported.
There are hundreds of them every single day.
Among the recent high-profile close calls, 2 Southwest planes that came within 500 feet of each other over Nashville.
Schedule your landing clearance, schedule your approach clearance.
And an American regional jet that aborted its landing, then flew across the path of an Air Canada flight at JFK.
You're flying through the approach course runway 31 left, correct immediately.
Now the biggest pilots union is again calling on the FAA or Congress to require precise GPS-based air traffic receivers called ADS-B in all aircraft. That would show pilots all surrounding air traffic.
It's essential. We need it. It's technology that's readily available.
The NTSB has been calling for it for 18 years, but the American Airlines jet involved in the midair crash over Washington was not equipped with ADS-B receivers.
Had it been the law, we would have prevented the crash over DCA, and 67 souls would still be with us.
The FAA chief, the former head of Republic Airways, reluctant to order airlines to add the technology. The agency is still struggling to hire air traffic controllers, despite a hiring push that aims to add 6,900 more controllers by 2028. But the National Air Traffic Controllers Union says that's about 3,800 employees short of what safety demands.
happening now here in the WRAL Live Center. New numbers released this morning shows that the soccer tournament in Cary has a record-breaking number of viewership as well as attendance for this year. We have this story up on WRAL.com. Of course, we know so many people attended this event. Well, now we know that the exact number was about 57,942 fans who watched it in person in Cary. That's a 12% increase from last year. We also know that when it comes to viewership, the match and some of the matches that were played on YouTube as well as on other outlets, we know on YouTube specifically, 500,000 people watched the event. That's a 61.5% increase in views compared to the year prior.
Yeah, a lot of numbers being reported today, Renee. Okay, so NCAA rule changes. We're going to explain how college athletes can have up to 5 years of eligibility with age restrictions. What's driving this change?
And all aglow, the reason why Christ the Redeemer was lit up in Brazil's national colors and why it's significant for the country. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories. For coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Go to WRAL.com, search only. Such a beautiful afternoon, and it's going to feel really nice. Yes, the temperatures are warm, but the humidity level is very comfortable. You're looking live at Fenton in Cary, and you're watching WRAL News, available on Spectrum and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Division I athletes will now be allowed to play 5 years in college instead of 4. It's one of the sweeping changes by the NCAA. Red shirts and waivers are being eliminated. The age-based eligibility model goes into effect for athletes who still have eligibility years left following the 25-26 school year. Now, the move is aimed at limiting the number of athletes who take part in college sports for longer than 5 years and into their mid-20s. Under these new rules, the eligibility clock begins when they first enroll in college or at the start of the school year following the athlete's 19th birthday, whichever comes first.
A federal judge blocked the Trump administration's push on restrictions for SNAP food benefits uses to buy soft drinks and candy. Now, several states received approval from the department to put that ban in place this year. SNAP recipients in 5 states sued the agency back in March, and they said the move, quote, would destabilize food access. They also say the ban would make it hard for people with chronic illnesses to access food and drinks needed to maintain health, such as items used to manage their blood sugar.
A medical breakthrough is changing one Louisiana man's life. 23-year-old Daniel Cressy is now functionally cured of sickle cell disease. Thanks goes to gene therapy, which uses a patient's own stem cells. He's the first person in Louisiana to receive the distinction. Cressy is working with his nonprofit that focuses on sickle cell treatment and support in hopes to help others.
This entire journey was the hardest thing I've done in my life. And the reason why I work so hard with our organization, Privileged Pilots, is because I don't want anybody else to have to experience the loneliness and the uncertainty and the hopelessness that I felt a couple of years ago.
The CDC says sickle cell disease affects roughly 100,000 people nationwide.
All right, time on the clock is 12:41 this Wednesday, lighting the way. Christ the Redeemer takes on a new look. How the switch will help count down to a special occasion.
And a super El Nino is taking aim at the Pacific Northwest. What that could mean for North America and beyond. A man in Fuquay-Varina lost his retirement savings to a scammer. He shared his story with WRAL Investigates. The victim said it started with what he thought was a call from a wrong number. It turned into a months-long friendship, and he found himself talking to the woman daily. Initially, he did not want to invest in crypto, but she convinced him, and at first he saw big returns. Then he went all in and lost everything. WRAL Investigates' Megan Cloherty went in depth with Laura Levine about the scam and why experts say it must be reported as quickly as possible.
If this happened to you maybe even 2 years ago, they didn't really know how to get the money back. And because it is such a prevalent crime, they've figured out and they have the tools, which are far above my pay grade to understand.
Right.
But they have the financial tools to start tracking where they're storing the money and where they're moving the money. But it is a massive money laundering scheme. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. So they try and get it away from U.S. jurisdiction as quickly as possible. So it's a time game. It's all about time.
Megan and Laura also talk about how the scammers who are behind this scheme are actually victims themselves. And they also talk about why it's called a pig butchering scam. You can find their conversation on the WRAL YouTube page.
Brazil's Christ the Redeemer statue lit up in the country's colors overnight, marking the countdown to the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup in Rio. The iconic bright white monument was lit up in green and yellow, and those are the colors of Brazil's national team. Rio de Janeiro will be one of the team's host cities next year. It'll be the first South American nation to host the Women's World Cup.
There's a potential super El Nino brewing in the Pacific Ocean, which could mean more extreme conditions around the world. Chris DeMeo explains what these conditions could mean and the potential risks for vulnerable groups.
Drier, warmer, wetter, and hotter. All of these conditions triggered by the potential for a super El Nino. You've probably heard of El Nino already.
The El Nino is a normal fluctuation in our global climate system. It's where the water in the Pacific Ocean is a little bit warmer than average.
So here's where the super comes in.
And what makes this a super El Nino, although that's not an official term, is that the water is much more hot than average, than an average El Nino.
And that means the effects are going to be even greater.
The Pacific Northwest will be a little drier and warmer than normal, and the Southwest will see a little wetter winter than normal. But really what we're looking at is a much hotter summer next year. So that's the main impact that we're kind of keeping our eye on right now.
And turning up the heat means putting the world's most vulnerable at risk. Experts are warning about the potential impact on those groups.
Here in the United States, especially with those record-breaking temperatures we're expecting next year, it would be older adults, younger children, and people with pre-existing health conditions and the unhoused populations that we'll really be keeping our eye on.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, protecting yourself in the heat is simple. Stay cool and stay hydrated. But on a larger scale, some experts suggest it's a group effort.
While it's important that we prepare for the effects of this super El Nino, we also have to address the root cause of climate change and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions as well.
Probably. No record-breaking temperatures today. It will feel nice with the humidity levels low. As we give you a live look at the DBAP, the Durham Bulls are on the road, but tomorrow, the Carolina Blaze, the women's pro softball team, they'll be taking the field at the DBAP. Look for tickets for those.
Yeah, perfect day for baseball, perfect day for golf, riding the bike, all the outdoor activities. Right, Elizabeth?
Absolutely. It's comfortable out here on the patio. Now, I can feel the heat, but standing here in the shady spot where I am, it feels great. I mean, especially compared to what we normally see this time of year and what we'll see through July and August. I mean, mostly it's just so oppressively muggy that you kind of feel like you're swimming through the air, and none of that today. It's just wonderful. This high pressure system, the cold front working together to really bring this lovely air mass into our area. High pressure systems rotate clockwise, so that high is pushing this nice, cool, dry air mass from up north right into our area for a visit. But this time of year, it usually doesn't last very long. Look where we're headed to the weekend. Oh, goodness. 98 Friday, 96 Saturday, 93 on Sunday. We are looking at some very hot conditions as we get through the weekend. We also have the potential for some more thunderstorms over the weekend. We'll see a return to humidity. Our flow starts to come back from the southwest, and it heats us up and brings us all that humidity. So we'll see a frontal system that drops in on us from the north, and that will help to bring us scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms. Our potential there is really only about 30 to 40%, so not everybody will see them. We take a look at futurecast for Friday. We'll see the clouds really thickening up closer to lunchtime, and at about 2 o'clock, a few isolated cells pop up, and you can see some pretty decent coverage for us Friday afternoon and evening. You know, Friday, for some people, is the beginning of the long 4th of July week holiday. If you're going to be gone for the weekend, headed out Friday, just plan on a little extra time, because no matter where you're headed, east or west out of the triangle, you could run into some showers and thunderstorms if you're leaving Friday later in the day. This is early Saturday morning. We get into Saturday afternoon. There's 6 p.m. Saturday. Again, a few isolated showers and thunderstorms, and we'll see a repeat of that on Sunday. Eventually, that front moves southward, and we see a little bit of a break from those afternoon thunderstorm chances. Now, we we need them. We need that rain. We saw some good coverage of rain across our area. Not everybody saw it, but ranging from ½ an inch to almost 3 inches in some places yesterday. This is a look at our forecast rainfall for the weekend. Only about 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch. But within those thunderstorms, there'll certainly be some areas that see some heavier amounts. It'll just be fairly few and far between. 98 Friday and Saturday. We're not looking at record highs. Our records this time of year in the triple digits, but it's close to it. It's possible that the Weather Service would issue a heat advisory for Friday or Saturday. So we'll keep our eye on that and let you know it's going to be hot as we get into that weekend before the holiday. We'll be right back with our top stories. Stay with us.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. The State Board of Elections is meeting right now to reconsider a complaint against Wake County election officials. These are officials who allowed 3 dead voters' ballots to be counted in 2024. The ballots in question were filed during the early voting period, but then the voters died before Election Day. WRAL has a crew there for these arguments. We will bring you updates as soon as a decision is made.
Right now, Durham City and county leaders are meeting for a summit on saving lives. And the goal of this 3-day event is to find solutions to gun violence. 94 people have been shot in Durham this year. And the mayor says after listening and gathering data, it's time for action. At the end of the summit, participants will bring recommendations for the city and county to put into place. And then elected officials have 60 days to, again, put that plan into action.
Hurricanes mania is bringing in a lot of people and money to the Triangle. The Downtown Raleigh Alliance now estimates that the crowd Saturday was filled with more than 192,000 people. Before that, just the home games and sold-out watch parties at Lenovo Center generated $13.4 million. This is according to Visit Raleigh, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the NHL. That number is likely much higher when you consider other watch parties and the championship parade.
Country music stars Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean are being sued for more than $1 million. There's a real estate company that accuses them of not paying rent for their Nashville restaurant. Bryan, Aldean, and former pro baseball player Adam LaRoche were partners in E3 Chop House since 2019. The lawsuit claims the three stopped paying rent in February and then abruptly closed the business. A court hearing is scheduled for July 10th.
Our pets of the day are 1-year-old bonded brothers from Cat Angels Pet Adoptions. Meet Ben Wyatt on the left and Ron Swanson. This dynamic duo is equal parts mischief and charm. Ben and Ron are happy to trade chaos for cuddles, claiming a cozy lap or spot beside you as if it were their plan all along. Ron Swanson is independent, confident, full of personality. Ben Wyatt is curious, clever, and just mischievous enough to keep life interesting. If you'd like to meet them in person, just fill out an application on the Cat Angels website.
Someone's a fan of Parks and Recreation. Those are the two characters of the show.
Adorable duo. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And as always, you can get breaking news update as well as your latest weather reports with the WRAL News app. Hope you have a blessed day today.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.